I went to two different protests of the Afghan American community here in California in the Bay Area this weekend. I learned a lot at these two protests, just of how the people of Afghanistan and Afghan refugees see the situation there. And that is absolutely vital for us who fight for justice, for freedom, and for socialism here in the United States. It's absolutely vital for us to listen to those voices and understand what they are saying. The first protest here was one in Fremont, right on the edge of Silicon Valley. Unfortunately, I had to get there a little bit late, so this is just the tail end of the rally, but still, what was said will give you a better understanding of how people understand the situation there in Afghanistan. I got there just as my friend and comrade Cheryl was asking a question.
I'm really concerned in this moment that the Taliban taking over again is being normalized. That there's this image being created of them, that somehow they're better, they're different, they're which I think is a lie. Yes, it's this idea that somehow there's support for the Taliban, that somehow there's popular support for them in Afghanistan seems like a big lie to me. There's no evidence for that. I
agree with you. There is. Cheryl, first we want to thank you for coming here today. It's really an obligation to see someone supporting us and doing research. From what we know, Cheryl, this is all behind the doors agreements, right? We would like to know what those agreements are, actually.
Yes.
I mean, the American people that are here would all like to know which president signed what deal, right? And why weren't the Afghan government in the deal? Because from what I'm hearing is that the Afghan government was not in the deal. The deal was made with the Taliban and the U.S., but the Afghan government was not there at the time. That's what we were told. Now, can you tell us who was there? I would really like someone to tell us that. And what is the deal? Was also told that fight for your own country. Okay, so you're going to bring the guerrilla in the country, and then you're going to tell them to fight for your own country. And then, of course, we have a military system in America, right? So if the general says don't fight, what do? You're not supposed to fight, right? So in Afghanistan, from what we're hearing, they were told not to fight back.
Right.
So if they're told not to fight back, folks are not going to fight back. So there must be an agreement in place somewhere where they're told not to fight back. But see, these are the information we don't know. You wouldn't know, I wouldn't know. Let them release it, because it's the future of the people. The people need to know who signed what. It's unclear, Cheryl. That's the problem.
My question was about whether or not there is actually two questions. One, if there is any knowledge of any on-the-ground popular support for the Taliban, which I find hard to believe.
Hard to believe.
Yeah. What?
There's
nothing.
There's nothing.
People are dying every day trying to leave, and that is how you know that there is nothing.
Right.
There is no support anymore.
But the other question,
People used to have false support in the Taliban because they believed that they would die, but now people don't care anymore. They just want to leave, and they're dying every day trying to get on planes out. People are hanging on to planes leaving the airport. They're being shoved into the bottoms of cargo planes, and it's horrifying. It's horrifying. They're my people. They are my people, and they're dying.
Oh my God.
And I have to speak out.
50 years ago, when the Soviet Union attacked Afghanistan, some superpower countries, they create hundreds religious schools in Pakistan, borders close by Afghanistan. They wanted to create a culture of war, a culture of fighting. They create that culture. Even I studied those type of books in my math class. It was saying 2 bullets plus 2 bullets equal 4 bullets. Imagine that. So why now people escape from the country? Because they don't want Taliban. Taliban, their brain, their mentality is to war, just fighting, jihad. when I studied those type of books or in school as like 7 years old, like jihad in our own language, which is mean like jihad. It's like, you know, promote that or encourage you to do jihad or that culture. I believe, from my own opinion, $1 million policymakers create they thought about that, how to create those type of books, how they can create that culture of war against the Soviet Union. But what happened when the Soviet Union collapsed and gone? Then those schools, now those Taliban, majority of them are the output of those religious schools. They believe on that we should do that jihad and we should fight, just because that mentality, which is now the victims of that ideology is the majority of the people of Afghanistan. So I think there could be a help temporary that if they can evacuate the airport, but there is another bigger issue, main issue, the reason.
Yes.
Because many thousands, millions other people will die or will killed by the Taliban because they strongly believe on that they say, based on my interpretation of Quran or holy books or anything, I should do that, and you have to obey that because we are right, we are the representative of God. How we can change that mentality? How we can work on that? This is from my opinion, this is the main cause, the root things. Now the situation is like this, and it's going to be maybe spread around the world because they thought that they are the only absolute truth. So this is hard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you're right.
I have a sister here who would like to speak. She has her husband who's in Afghanistan right now.
My husband is in the hospital right now. 40 hours, no food, no water, no sleep. He made it to the Americans. He showed them everything, his documents, everything. They kicked him to the ground. I told him, I said, be kind to our soldiers. Those are our soldiers. I am Afghan American. He said, Zora, your soldiers were not kind to me. He did everything he could. He is in the hospital right now. He has an injury on his leg, a concussion. What are we supposed to do? I've done everything. Everyone is important at this point. SIV, immigrant visas, they're all looked at as traitors. They're all watan furush. Please, do something, help them. I'm pregnant, I can't be going through this right now. I need my husband. Please help me. Please help.
I'm so proud of you for coming here today after everything she's going through to come here. This is what I mean about the will of Afghan women. This is the power of Afghan women. That even though she has pain and suffering of her own husband and her child, her unborn child, she's here trying to raise the voice of those who are voiceless even more than her husband. I cannot imagine what she's going through, but the fact that she showed up today shows the power of Afghan women. Each Afghan woman has the power of an army behind her. This is how we stand, and this is what drives us to continue. Each one of you, remember her face, remember her story. And get on your phones, text that number, call those representatives. Do not call once and give up, no. You call until you speak to someone on the phone. You ask for immediate humanitarian assistance for our Afghans. You ask for the airport to be open. And you ask for more refugees to be allowed into the U.S. 3 asks. You keep it short, you keep it concise, and you keep going, going, going. Every day call. Every day think of her face. And think of her unborn child. Inshallah, she will have her father.
I'd just like to say one thing. Well, two things. The two things that I'm hearing here is, number one, about refugee rights, and number two, I'm hearing about women. And anybody that's lived in this country for any amount of time, we know that those are two huge issues here in the United States. For refugees from Afghanistan, from everywhere, and also women's rights. And so therefore, what I feel is your struggle is our struggle. Your cause is our cause.